Hi, I'm John Leonard. I'm a corporate lawyer with Fairfield and Woods in Denver, Colorado. We have a series of videos we're working on. They're on our website. We invite you to go look. We have videos on trust and estate planning. We have videos on litigation and arbitration. We have a whole series on topics that are important to businesses that are raising money, running their business, hiring and firing employees. So all sorts of videos I think you'll find interesting. Today, we're talking to my partner, Jack Tanner. Thanks for joining us today, Jack.
A pleasure.
Jack is a litigator here, but more importantly, he's the man we run down to the corner and ask about ethics. So we're going to talk about ethics, especially for you that are in-house lawyers, how you might contact Jack. Jack does seminars on this topic once a year when we have our CLE requirements that we have to meet. Jack is speaking on ethics. Jack, you're actually part of the Colorado Bar Association on the ethics committee.
Correct.
What's your background on that?
I've been on the ethics committee for 27 years, I think now. I sort of inherited the Fairfield and Woods chair on the ethics committee. There was a guy here that had it before, and he had a young kid. He got too busy, so I ended up getting appointed to that, and I find it fascinating. I really enjoy it. It's like being in law school again, where we get to seek out the right answer as opposed to worrying about the answer our client wants or how much money it's going to cost. We just discuss till we get to the good answer. So I enjoy it.
Now, I'm an in-house, let's just pretend I'm in-house counsel. That's usually a generalist. And when would a in-house counsel think, gosh, I should pick up the phone and call Jack?
Well, the first thing that the in-house lawyer has to recall is that the rules of ethics actually still apply. A lot of lawyers go in-house and think, don't have to worry about that anymore. And as I said, I've been giving seminars on this for a while, and I get pushback regularly from in-house lawyers that think that because they're an employee of a company and not working at a law firm anymore, the ethical rules don't matter. And that's certainly not true. They still apply. How they apply may be a little different in some circumstances, but the ethical rules still apply to in-house lawyers.
And so give some examples, maybe some real life examples of Jack Tanner in action. When are you being called by in-house counsel?
Well, probably not often enough. I mean, unfortunately, I get the call after a problem has arisen instead of proactively. But the big three areas, what I call are the three C's. The first one's compensation. There's an ethical rule that puts on special guidelines when a lawyer is trying to do a business deal with a client. And when you're outside, that's pretty obvious and easy to see coming. The client says, hey, how about if you get a piece of the deal in exchange for reducing your fees or something like that? It's less obvious when you're in-house, but the rule still applies. It's rule 1.8, and it's a special set of conflicts. There's some procedural rules and some substantive rules that you have to apply. So if you're an in-house lawyer and you're getting stock or stock options as part of your compensation, gee, that's a business deal with a client, and you ought to look at Rule 1.8. If you're in here in Colorado, there's an ethics opinion 109 that kind of walks you through the steps, or pick up the phone or call me.
I was going to ask you that. If I'm a prospective client, I can call Jack, and we have to clear conflicts, obviously. And you can have an informal conversation, and then if you need to, how does that work? How do I engage you?
Yeah, if I can answer the question in less than 10 or 15 minutes, which I almost always can, I don't charge you. I don't even formally engage as a client. I just give you some advice. If it's a sticky question and you actually have to do research, then we might talk about getting retained. But I'm on the Colorado Bar Association, the calling committee. So I get these calls a couple times a week from just random people. Hey, I've got an ethics question, and certainly don't charge for that. So if I can answer the question quickly, which I usually can, it's there's no charge.
It's part of your civic duty, or
that's right.
Giving back to the bar.
But let me pick up what you said about running conflicts, because going back to the hot issues in-house ethics right now, the second of the three C's is conflicts. A lot of lawyers, again, when they go in-house, stop worrying about whether they've got a conflict of interest, but there's actually several ways that could arise when you're in-house. One is if you're working for a group of related companies. A different one is if you're doing work for the owner of the companies. A different one can just be your personal interest that can raise a conflict. So just because you're in-house doesn't mean you don't have to think about rules 1.7, 1.9, 1.10. The stakes are actually pretty high for in-house lawyers because if you get the wrong kind of conflict of it as an in-house lawyer, not only are you disqualified, but your entire in-house department can be disqualified, which most companies that have in-house departments are set up imagining that their in-house department is going to run all their legal issues. And if you disqualify the whole in-house department, that can be a real problem. And then the third of the common 3 C's is confidentiality. Again, at a law firm where we work, everybody here that is a lawyer or works for a lawyer, we're all bound by the rules of professional conduct.
Sure.
But if you're in-house and your hallway, for example, has employees walking up and down it that aren't in the legal department, I mean, that could be a problem with confidentiality where you can't even have a phone call without closing your door. So that's a third area where in-house lawyers sometimes get out over their skis. They don't think about it in advance and the problem arises and it's harder after the fact than before the fact.
Yeah, so we've covered 3 C's, and that must be all of it. There must be no more.
Those are the 3 ones that come up repeatedly. That the hot current issue right now is covenants not to compete. There's actually an ethical rule that says a lawyer can't sign a covenant not to compete under Rule 5.6. It's a pretty simple rule. However, some courts have taken the position that rule does not apply if you're in-house and you see in-house counsel being pressured to sign covenants not to compete by their employer. And that's another good time to pick up the phone and call me and let's talk about it.
That's great. Well, I know I come down to your corner office once in a while and I get not just the rules. I mean, you've been citing the rules, but there's a 5th C, there's common sense. So I always appreciate that I can talk to you and we talk about how things work and the realities of what's going on. And always have appreciated the common sense. Now, during the end of the year, you do these seminars in November typically, or December.
I do the seminar at our offices typically in November. I also do seminars throughout the year because I get invited to speak elsewhere outside the firm. But we do a specific seminar just for in-house lawyers, usually early November. If anybody wants to be invited, just reach out to me or reach out to anybody at the firm and we can get you on the invitation list.
Well, it's a dry subject, but Jack makes it fun. I've always need ethics credit at the end of my 3-year stint to get CLEs in. So Jack's a wonderful guy to talk to. And like I said, lots of common sense, something that you don't find a lot these days. So please check out our other videos. Thanks for joining us.